Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. This time we're focusing on interleukin receptors.
Fascinating stuff. They're like the gatekeepers of our immune system.
Right, and we've got a ton of research articles and clinical trial data to go through.
Should be fun. The goal is to really understand how these receptors manage our immune responses.
Everything from T cell and B cell activation to that super complex innate immunity. You know what I find really interesting?
What's that?
Just how diverse these receptors are.
Oh, absolutely. It's like evolution created a whole language for them.
Yeah, to fine-tune the immune response
Yeah.
to all kinds of threats.
Exactly. Viruses, bacteria, even our own cells when they go haywire.
So it's like a communication network inside us.
Exactly.
And these interleukins are the messengers.
They bind to specific receptors, and that sets off a cascade of signals.
And those signals decide what happens to the immune cells,
Right. Think of it like some interleukins are accelerators,
pushing the immune system into overdrive,
and others are brakes. They keep things from getting out of control.
preventing too much inflammation. So let's start with the basics. How many interleukin families are we even talking about?
Well, there are quite a few, but the main players are the IL-1 family,
Okay.
the IL-6 family, the common gamma chain family, and the IL-12 family.
Each with their own quirks and specialties.
Definitely. When you say quirks, you're talking about structure, right?
Yeah. The receptors themselves, different shapes and components.
Absolutely. A lot of them share common motifs, though,
Like what?
like immunoglobulin-like domains and cytokine receptor domains. Think of those like building blocks.
So they can bind to their specific interleukin.
Right.
It's a modular system then.
Yeah, you could say that. Different combinations, different responses.
That's how we get such a variety of immune responses.
Exactly. Some receptors have multiple cytokine receptor domains, for example. They can bind to several interleukins at once.
Wow. And that makes the signaling even more complex. Okay, let's talk about function then. You said some interleukins are like accelerators, some are brakes.
Yeah.
How does that actually play out in immune responses?
Well, we have two main types of adaptive immunity.
T cell and B cell responses.
Right. And some interleukins are all about activating T cells.
The ones that attack infected or cancer cells directly,
Others focus on B cells. Those are our antibody factories.
producing those targeted weapons to neutralize pathogens.
Exactly. So it's not just about turning the immune system on or off.
It's way more specific than that.
Much more. It decides which response gets triggered.
That's incredible. And this specificity is vital, right, to fight the right threat the right way.
Absolutely. Imagine you get a virus. You need a strong T cell response to wipe out those infected cells.
But a bacterial infection might need a stronger antibody response.
Right, to neutralize the toxins the bacteria are producing.
So it's like having a whole toolbox.
Exactly. And it gets even more interesting when you consider crosstalk.
Crosstalk, what's that?
Different interleukin signaling pathways can actually influence each other.
Like a web of interactions.
Exactly. It's not just a simple chain of command.
Signals can amplify each other or dampen each other.
That's it. And that's how the immune response gets fine-tuned. It integrates a bunch of signals and tailors the response perfectly.
Wow, okay. So we have all these different receptors, each with its own quirks, its own functions.
Right?
They can trigger specific responses like T cells or B cells kicking into action.
Yep.
And they can even communicate, fine-tuning the whole response.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if this system messes up?
Well, that's when things can go wrong.
Like
Dysregulation of these signals can cause a ton of diseases.
autoimmune disorders, for example.
Exactly. That's when your immune system attacks your own body.
So certain interleukins can actually cause autoimmune diseases.
They can play a big role, yeah. Take IL-17. That's a powerful inflammatory cytokine.
Okay.
And it's implicated in diseases like psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, and inflammatory bowel disease.
So it's like they're sending the wrong signals, and the immune system goes after healthy cells.
That's the idea. And this knowledge has opened up some exciting new possibilities for treatment.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. If we know which interleukins are causing problems, we can target them.
Exactly. Develop therapies to block those specific signals. And that's what scientists and doctors are working on right now.
We already have FDA-approved drugs that target interleukins, or their receptors, right?
We do, and many more are being developed.
So we're talking about antibodies that can bind to interleukins, or maybe small molecules that block the receptors.
Both. The aim is to stop that inflammatory cascade and restore balance.
And it's working.
It is. Some of these therapies are showing really promising results in treating autoimmune diseases.
That's incredible. It's like we're finally figuring out the immune system's language
We are.
and learning to use it to our advantage.
Ex-
My brain is definitely full of interleukins right now. It's amazing how much power these tiny molecules have.
Mhm.
But I'm wondering, how do scientists even study this? It seems so complex.
Oh, it is complex. But researchers have some pretty cool tricks up their sleeves, like using knockout mice.
Knockout mice.
Yeah, you delete specific genes in mice, and then you see what happens to their immune system.
So, like, if you knock out a gene for a specific receptor.
Exactly. You can see the effects of that receptor being gone. A good example is the IL-2 receptor.
What happens?
Well, IL-2 is really important for T cells. It's like their growth factor.
Okay.
So no receptor, no IL-2 signal, and the T cells can't develop or function right.
Interesting. Like taking a piece out of a puzzle.
Yeah, and seeing how the whole picture changes.
What about those targeted therapies we talked about? How do we even know which interleukins to target?
That's where clinical trials and patient data come in. We study the immune systems of patients with different diseases.
Looking for patterns.
Exactly. We want to see which interleukins are going crazy, which ones are out of whack.
And then you develop drugs to target those specific molecules.
That's the plan. It's like a detective story, right?
Yeah, finding the culprits behind these immune disorders.
That's a great way to put it. And once we have a suspect, we can start testing drugs in trials.
Seeing if they can actually modulate the immune response safely and effectively.
Right.
The whole process sounds super complex.
It is, for sure. But the payoff could be huge. Think about it, targeting specific interleukins and receptors.
Yeah.
It could be a game changer for so many diseases, not just autoimmune disorders.
Really? You're saying this could go beyond autoimmune diseases?
Absolutely. There's a lot of interest in using interleukin inhibitors for cancer, for example.
How does that work?
Well, some cancers are sneaky. They can hijack interleukin signaling.
To suppress the immune system.
Exactly. It's like they're putting the brakes on the immune system so it can't attack them.
Wow. So by blocking those signals, we could unleash the immune system against the cancer.
Exactly. It's a whole new way of thinking about cancer therapy.
That's amazing. So we're not attacking the cancer directly.
Yeah.
We're kind of reprogramming the immune system to do it for us.
That's the idea. And early clinical trials are looking very promising.
My mind is blown. We've gone from tiny gatekeepers to reprogramming the immune system to fight cancer. It's incredible how much we've learned.
It is. And in just a few decades, really.
And we're still just getting started, right?
Oh, yeah. There's still so much to uncover, so many questions to answer.
Like what?
Well, personalized interleukin therapies are a hot topic right now.
Personalized.
Yeah, tailoring treatments to each person's unique immune system.
That's amazing. Maximizing the benefits and minimizing side effects.
Exactly.
It sounds so futuristic.
It does, but it's becoming more and more realistic, especially as we understand more about the complexity of interleukin signaling. Plus, we're learning that interleukins do more than just immune stuff.
What else do they do?
Well, they're involved in brain development,
Wow.
bone metabolism, even wound healing.
Seriously?
It seems like they're way more versatile than we thought.
Like a hidden communication network throughout the body, with interleukins as the messengers, influencing everything from our immune system to our brains.
Exactly. And the more we uncover about this network, the more surprises and opportunities we'll find, I'm sure of it.
This has been such an eye-opener. We've gone from the basics of interleukin receptors to these big picture ideas. Immune responses, targeted therapies, personalized medicine. But before we wrap up, I got to ask, are there any downsides to all this? We've talked about the benefits of manipulating these signals, but is there any risk?
That's a really important question, and it's something researchers and clinicians are always thinking about. Like any powerful tool, you have to be careful.
So what are some of the concerns?
Well, one big one is oversuppressing the immune system. You don't want to leave people vulnerable to infections.
That makes sense.
It's a balancing act. Reduce harmful inflammation, but don't cripple the body's defenses.
Finding that sweet spot.
Exactly. That's why careful monitoring and personalized doses are so important with these therapies. And then there's the issue of resistance.
Resistance. Like bacteria developing resistance to antibiotics.
Similar idea, yeah. Some patients might become resistant to interleukin inhibitors over time, and the treatment becomes less effective.
Well, that's tricky.
It is. But researchers are working on ways to overcome it,
Like,
combining therapies, for instance, or developing new inhibitors that target multiple pathways.
so it's a constant race. Scientists versus the ever-evolving nature of disease.
You could say that, but we're making good progress. The field is moving fast, and with every new discovery, we get closer to understanding these fascinating molecules.
And harnessing their potential. It's an exciting time to be following this research. It feels like there's a new breakthrough every day.
Yeah, it really is amazing how quickly this field is moving. But honestly, it's also a bit overwhelming, you know? All these different families, structures, cascades, even resistance. It's a lot, that's for sure. And that's exactly why research is so important. The more we understand, the better we can design those safe and effective treatments.
I know, right? When I started looking into this stuff, I thought interleukins were just simple messengers,
Yeah.
turning the immune system on or off. But it's way more complicated.
Oh, it is. It's like a language,
Mm.
with a huge vocabulary and all these intricate rules.
That's a great way to put it. So, what are some of the big challenges researchers are facing right now?
Well, finding the best targets for therapy is a big one. With so many interleukins and receptors, it's tough to know which ones are key for a specific disease.
Right, and even if you know the target, you need drugs that actually work.
Exactly. And they have to be safe too. We want to change the immune response just enough, but without causing a bunch of side effects.
It's like fine-tuning a really delicate machine.
That's a good analogy. Too much tweaking, and the whole thing could go haywire. That's why understanding the basic biology is so crucial.
We need to know how everything interacts,
Exactly. It's not just about the drugs themselves, but the context too.
like the patient's individual immune system.
Yep. Their genes, their medical history, even their lifestyle. It's all connected.
Personalized interleukin medicine.
That's the goal.
It sounds incredible.
Huh.
But let's come back to reality for a sec. What about treatments that are available right now or in development?
Oh, we already have some FDA-approved drugs that are making a difference. Drugs that block IL-1, for instance.
For things like rheumatoid arthritis.
And other inflammatory diseases, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have drugs targeting IL-6.
What do those treat?
Cytokine release syndrome. That's a really nasty immune reaction you can get with some cancer therapies. And of course, we have IL-17 blockers for psoriasis and other skin conditions.
So real treatments helping people right now.
Absolutely. And the research is exploding. There are so many promising therapies in the pipeline. Well, we have IL-2 agonists being tested for cancer. They boost the immune system's ability to attack tumors. There are trials with IL-12 and IL-23 inhibitors for inflammatory bowel disease. And even IL-10, which is anti-inflammatory, is being investigated for autoimmune diseases.
It's amazing to think about the potential here. Like, interleukins could be the key to solving so many diseases that have been around forever.
It's a really exciting field to be in, that's for sure. As we keep learning more, I think we're going to see some incredible breakthroughs and real changes in how we treat all sorts of conditions.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens next. This deep dive has been amazing. We've covered so much: the language of immune signaling, the balance between activation and suppression, targeted therapies, the whole shebang.
And this is really just the beginning. There's still so much more to discover.
Yeah, the future of interleukin research is wide open. So to everyone listening, keep learning, keep asking questions, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next big discovery. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.